Hey everybody, welcome back. My voice has kind of been in and out recently, but finally come back enough to be able to make a video for today, my usual Friday post. For those of you new to the channel, I want to extend a welcome to you. Those of you returning, it's good to see you all again. And in a world that seems like it's just completely going insane right now, what comes next? What do we do next in the face of all this? And I say this with, a degree of reflection, not just on the recent events of the past 2 days, the assassination of somebody who was out there debating people and openly trying to open up conversation and discourse about things, which is really what our country should be about. But I'll explain my take on that here soon in a few minutes. But I say it with a degree of reflection on the fact that, we're coming up on we just passed the anniversary of 9/11. And something to consider about all of this. Something to seriously consider about all of this. No matter where you stand on the particular situation, like I myself personally never felt like politics would ever be the answer. Or that it ever could be the answer. It is far too corrupt. I feel like our government, our Congress needs to have term limits. I feel like they need to have limits on bills that they pass, that they have to have just one particular item focused on it so that we don't have stuff being kind of saddled in and attached in with things that we actually do want passed, so that corruption just runs amok, and that there's a number of things going on. So I don't personally believe voting in a two-party system is going to work. And that was a major difference between myself and Charlie Kirk, for instance. But really it comes down to this. It's an attack on free speech. Plain and simple. No matter how you look at it, no matter what conspiracies you ascribe or don't ascribe to it, it's an attack on free speech. They want everyone out there that doesn't want to fall in line with any type of programming, who wants to engage in any form of independent thinking, to be scared to speak out, because if you become well known enough, you might just get a bullet. It's a deliberate attempt to make people afraid like that. No, you could say there's other motivations and other things going on specifically to that situation. I would agree with you. There's always going to be stuff that we don't even completely have answers to, that we're going to have to make guesses at. And to some degree, I'm almost surprised at people that are surprised this is happening. As if this wasn't fairly obvious that this has happened and probably will continue to happen. If they deem you enough of a threat of teaching people to avoid groupthink, you're probably going to have a target on your back at some point. You just are. And I feel like that's kind of always been that way throughout history. So, that's not to minimize what's just happened, but I feel like it's always been that way throughout history. You'll end up with a target on your back if you don't engage in the groupthink, if you don't engage in what really I feel like they want you to do. So yes, freedom of speech was under attack. And it sends a very clear message to anybody that says, I believe differently, or I'm going to assess this on my own, or make my own determination, and then turn around and publicly speak about it. It sends a clear message. We don't want you doing that, and we want you to take note of this. And for all of us to take stock of the fact that that is very clearly the world that we live in now. We are not in the same world that we grew up in. How many of you have completely, utterly noticed that, and how many of you are just now coming to that conclusion? We are not in the same world we grew up in. It is not the same at all. And we have to come to that understanding and realizing that there will be no going back to that. That's not ever coming back. And that's okay. Once you identify that as the problem, you can begin to move forward and make realistic plans about what you can actually do with the coming future. It will most likely probably get crazier than even now. I wish that was not the case, but it feels like something has shifted. It's almost as if we're in some weird parallel evil universe where things are just going completely amok. But at the same time, we have to accept and realize that this is just the way it's going. It's not something that you're condoning, but you're realizing the fact that you have to face up to it and then decide where you stand. And I guess that brings me kind of to my next point. Yes, there is a divide happening. There is very clearly a divide happening. You can feel it everywhere you go, with everything that you're doing, everybody that you encounter. There is a massive divide happening. And that divide is not really a right or left thing. It's not a political thing. It is a divide in people's character, whether they're willing to independently think, question things, whether they're willing to hold to any form of morality, any form of common sense, or the people that are literally being programmed, being conditioned, basically being indoctrinated into the current system. There will be those of us that refuse that and those of us that accept that. And that is the way we are going. That is the divide that is ultimately happening. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments and see if you feel like this is the way that we're going. But to me, it seems very, very clear that not only is this the way that we're going, it's almost like time is speeding up to head right towards this. Like we are headed towards just a culmination of events where this is clearly happening. As a Christian, I have my own opinions on this from a worldview standpoint, but how many of you are noticing, no matter what your background, you're noticing we're rocketing towards this? There's nothing that seems to be able to stop that. I don't know that it's necessarily a good thing for it to slow down. I feel like it's coming to a point to where people need to be deciding where they're going to make their stand. Are they going to think for themselves, or are they going to be indoctrinated? Are they going to question what's going on? Or are they going to just roll with whatever narrative happens? And as all these terrible events unfold, as more terrible things probably are going to happen, most likely and definitely will, really it's not about the reaction to those things, but the question we ask ourselves about where do we stand? What direction do we take moving forward? Now, I originally had planned to talk about a number of different things that were going on in the economy today. I will be covering those coming up soon. I noticed that there's been a lot of shifting in the trucking industry and people that are doing a lot of transport of different materials, where there is layoffs, people quitting, and a sharp rise in people actually openly posting videos about this. But I almost can't really completely blame them. One of the women that posted this type of video that I'm about to describe to you is a nurse, works currently as a nurse, and is stealing food just to be able to survive because she doesn't make enough money, and has maxed out all of her credit cards to be able to put food on the table. That is the state our economy has come to, that people that used to have jobs that were high end and they didn't have to worry about those sort of things are now in a position where they're stuck. They're stuck and there's nothing they can do about it, and they feel desperate. And that has got to be, the more I look into it, a reflection of just a cross-section of what we're all going through. So that was originally what I had planned to talk about, but it just feels like everything is completely on edge and continuing to go that way. And I feel like we are all having to make our choice. Where will we stand? So that's pretty much all I have for today. For those of you that are interested, I've got a new community started. I'll put the link in the description below. It's on School, SKOOL. For those of you not familiar with it, you can join the community for free. For those of you that are interested in doing some form of a side business or something online, especially if you're interested in doing YouTube, I actually have a course on there. It's very, very inexpensive. Absolutely feel free to connect with me on that. A lot of you have your own version, your own unique take on what you want to do as far as like presenting yourself out there and you're looking for some other way to find something meaningful, maybe that's something you're interested in doing, I'd be glad to connect with you on that. So that's actually in that course, but also feel free to join the community, connect with everybody over there. As I said, it's completely free. And I'd love to see you over there. As far as YouTube here, make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, hype up the video. It's a new feature that they're starting to offer on some of the videos that are out there. So if you see that, hype it up, help get the message out there to everybody. And with that, I'm going to leave you here, and I look forward to talking to you all again soon.